Hey everybody, and welcome to Leia's Lair. In today's video, we will be going over every single planet that was visited in Star Wars Episode 2. The episode opens up with Queen Padmé Amidala returning to Coruscant in grid square L9 on the standard galactic grid. Coruscant was a central planet located in the Coruscant sector of the Core Worlds. Coruscant served as the capital of the galaxy and had a population of approximately 1 trillion citizens. It had one sun, Coruscant Prime, and 4 moons. Coruscant was an ecumenopolis, or a city-covered planet known as Galactic City, whose surface was defined by its urban sprawl. The dense city blocks were built on top of each other, with the lowest being level 1, and the highest being level 5,127. The lowest habitable level was level 5. At its highest level, Galactic City's skyscrapers could reach 6,000 meters into the atmosphere. Coruscant orbited relatively far from its sun, and therefore did not have a climate that suited any one particular species. The planet's weather patterns were affected by the troposphere-piercing buildings that covered the planet's surface. Inside the tallest buildings, enormous differences of temperature and air pressure from top to bottom produced unusual and unpredictable microclimates. As such, Coruscant had its own weather-controlled systems. Coruscant was considered to be the original homeworld of humanity, and as such, humans made up about 68% of the population. However, as one journeyed deeper into the levels of Galactic City, the demographics of the population became more varied. The planet was home to a large community of immigrated species, such as Syrians, Nautiloans, Iktachi, Togrutas, and Keldors, to name a few. Many of these species rarely returned to their homeworld and instead inhabited the lower levels of the city. Coruscant was the site of many important locations. Examples include the Jedi Temple, home to the Jedi Order, the Guardians of Peace and Justice in the Galaxy, the Senate Building, where delegates would meet during sessions of Congress to discuss legislation and galactic policy, Cocoa Town, a rundown industrial area, the Grand Republic Medical Facility, a tower built to serve as a treatment center for badly injured Republic soldiers, and the Republic Center for Military Operations, a large military base in close proximity to the staging areas. There was virtually no flora or fauna native to Coruscant. The only fauna that was native to the planet were granite slugs. These slugs were capable of consuming mineral matter, secreting acidic saliva as they moved around on the surface of a building. The most notable character to hail from Coruscant was Qui-Gon Jinn, a Jedi Master during the final years of the Galactic Republic. Other notable characters include Finis Valorum, a politician who served as the penultimate Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Republic, and Tan Devo, a police inspector in the Coruscant Security Force. Obi-Wan is assigned by the Council to track down the killer of an assassin who tried to assassinate Padmé. His investigation takes him to the planet of Kamino. Kamino was a remote planet located in the Kamino system of the extragalactic region of the galaxy. It was located approximately 70,000 light-years from the core, outside of the boundaries of the galaxy. It had a population of roughly 1 billion and 3 moons. Kamino was an aquatic planet with a breathable atmosphere. Its primary terrain was ocean, covering 100% of the planet's surface. At some point in its history, the planet was not covered in water, and the Kaminoans built a large land-based civilization. However, the water level rose, forcing the Kaminoans to build their structures on stilts. Kamino often experienced heavy rainfall, and some parts of the planet also experienced heavy electrical storms. Kamino was home to an amphibian alien sentient species known as the Kaminoans. Kaminoans were mysterious, tall, elegant beings with long necks. They were considered isolationists, meaning they only concerned themselves with off-worlders when it was profitable to them. Kaminoans were scientifically gifted and were known for their cloning technology, which ultimately led to the creation of the clone army. Immigrated species to the planet included humans. The planet received very little trade, with its imports, generally food, only being enough to support the planet's population. Its major exports included clones, covert technology, and military hardware. The oceans of the planet held an abundance of life. Examples include the Awa, a non-sentient species of winged cetacean used as mounts by the Kaminoans, and krill, a small crustacean that lived in large groups and were food for the Awa. The capital of the planet was Tipoca City. The city was home to several million Kaminoans and was a network of stilt structures built over 150 kilometers at Kamino's equator. It served as a major military base for the Grand Army of the Republic during the Clone Wars and was the location of the Kaminoan cloning facilities that created the army prior to the war. The most notable character to hail from Kamino was Boba Fett, an unaltered clone and Mandalorian bounty hunter. Other notable characters include the Clone Army, Lama Su, the Prime Minister of Kamino, and Ton Wei, his administrative aide. Following his interaction with Jango Fett on Kamino, Obi-Wan places a tracking beacon on his ship. He follows Jango Fett to the planet of Geonosis in grid square R16 on the standard galactic grid. Geonosis, also known as Geonosia, was a desert planet located in the Geonosis system of the Arcanus sector in the Outer Rim territories. It was approximately 43,000 light-years from the galactic core and only a parsec away from the planet Tatooine. Geonosis had one sun, E, and 15 moons, 4 of which were major. At one point, the planet had a population of 100 billion. Geonosis had a breathable atmosphere with a hot and arid climate, and its surface was covered in harsh, rocky deserts. Both the sky and the rocks were tinted in shades of red. The planet did not have a lot of surface water, amounting to only 5% of the entire planetary surface. However, the planet was known to have frequent flash floods. Geonosis was home to a sentient winged semi-insectoid species known as the Geonosians. They created nests in large, spire-like colonies on their homeworld. A caste-based species separated by positions of drones and warriors, Geonosians were born into hives, with each led by a queen. The queen laid eggs for the hive and provided orders to the public leaders of Geonosis. Immigrated species to the planet include the Acklay, the Massive, the Nexu, and the Reek. Geonosis was home to very little flora, only the spider sponge. Fauna included the brainworm, the meredith, the mungwurst, the ore, the phaidna, and the pygmy porcelain. Famous places on Geonosis included Petronaki Arena, the Caltrop Field, the Eastern Barrier, the Geonosian Catacombs, and the Progate Temple, to name a few. In the later years of the Galactic Republic, Geonosis became a major base of operations for the Confederacy of Independent Systems and hosted its major battle droid foundries. The enormous Geonosian droid factories began to manufacture tens of thousands of different types of battle droids, thus maintaining their own Geonosian droid army. The planet was the site of the first Battle of Geonosis, the opening conflict of the Clone Wars, as well as the subsequent invasion by the Galactic Republic. During and after the war, the Death Star was constructed above the planet. 5 years after the conflict's conclusion and transformation of the Galactic Republic, the Galactic Empire would garrison the planet heavily and attempt to mine the planet's asteroids for minerals. At least 5 years after the Clone Wars, in 10 BBY, the Empire moved the Death Star to Scarif after it was almost discovered by the rebel partisan Saw Gerrera. As a security measure, the Empire used poison canisters to sterilize the planet. This killed the entire species of Geonosians on the planet, except for one named Click-Clack. Notable characters who hail from Geonosis are Poggle the Lesser, the public leader of the Geonosians during the Clone Wars, Karina the Great, the Queen of Geonosis during the Clone Wars, and Click-Clack, the only survivor of sterilization. Meanwhile, Anakin and Padmé have traveled to Naboo in grid square 017 on the standard galactic grid. Naboo was a pastoral planet located in the mid-rim, near the border to the Outer Rim territories. It had a population of roughly 4.5 billion and 3 moons, Omadune, Onoam, and Varuna. Its surface consisted of a variety of different landscapes, such as rolling plains, grassy hills, mountains, and swampy lakes. In addition to the natural beauty of the planet, Naboo was also known for having some of the galaxy's most beautiful urban centers, which were crafted using building materials from the porous crust's natural plasma. This plasma was a unique, naturally occurring energy. Unlike most other worlds, the ancient planet lacked a molten core and instead comprised of a conglomerate of large rocky bodies that made up a network of tunnels and flooded caves. These were used by certain Gungan navigators as trade routes and were regarded by astrophysicists as an extremely rare phenomena in the galaxy. Naboo was inhabited by 2 societies. The Gungans were the first, and for thousands of years they flourished until the arrival of the Naboo, a group of human colonists who crash-landed on the planet. A cultural misunderstanding resulted in a series of quarrels between the Gungans and the human colonists. Both sides refused to acknowledge their responsibilities in the rift, and the two groups ostracized each other for the longest time. That situation lasted until the invasion of Naboo by the Trade Federation, which forced the humans and the Gungans to join forces. Naboo was also home to a variety of flora and fauna. Flora included the Cambolictus tree, lowcap, the Naboo lettuce, and the perlot tree. Most of the land animals on Naboo were peaceful, such as the shak, the fambas, and the kadu. However, there were many menacing creatures who lived in the planet's oceans, such as the Opie Sea Killer and the Sando Aqua Monster. Notable characters who hail from Naboo include Padmé Amidala, Sheev Palpatine, Gregor Typho, Korsh Panaka, Jar Jar Binks, and Rugor Nass. Eventually, Anakin becomes troubled by a newfound sense that his mother is in grave danger, and he beckons for Padmé to accompany him to his home planet of Tatooine in Grid Square R16. Tatooine was a sparsely inhabited, circumbinary desert planet located in the galaxy's Outer Rim territories. It had 2 suns, Tatoo 1 and Tatoo 2, and 3 moons, Gomrasin, Gurmesa, and Chanini. It had a population of about 200,000. Tatooine had a hot and arid climate. Part of a binary star system, the planet was oppressed by scorching suns, resulting in the world lacking the necessary surface water to sustain large populations. As a result, many residents of the planet instead drew water from the atmosphere via moisture farms. The whole planet was covered in harsh deserts, and only a small part of its northern hemisphere could sustain intelligent life. The landscape was covered with sand dunes, mountains, and canyons, which made traversing the planet very difficult. Due to the planet's dangerously high daytime temperatures and whipping sandstorms, most residents of Tatooine kept their skin covered with practical materials that wick away sweat and limit exposure to the harmful ultraviolet radiation of the twin suns. Tatooine had only a few port cities, including Mos Espa and Mos Eisley. These cities were separated from each other by large expanses of deserts and tended to attract many criminals and lowlifes. The standard of living in the cities was often poor. Slavery, while banned through republic laws, was readily and blatantly practiced on Tatooine. An entire section of Mos Espa was purposed as a slave quarter. On Tatooine, at least, the institution of slavery was seen as a socio-economic symbol of wealth and prestige, resulting in highly protective owners who reluctantly parted with their possessions. Used as capital in business transaction, nearly all slavery operations were overseen by the Hutt clan, who maintained a presence on Tatooine. Jabba the Hutt owned a palace in the desert, at least by the time of the Clone Wars, until his death shortly before the Battle of Endor. Points of interest on Tatooine included Ben's Mesa, a flat-topped mountain, Beggar's Canyon, a dry riverbed that cut through Ben's Mesa, the Dune Sea, a vast stretch of desert, Ebe Crater Valley, which was a part of the Bunta Eve Classic pod race, the Great Shot Salt Flat, a dry expanse of hard-packed fusion of clay and sodium-rich sand, the Great Pit of Carkoon, home to the Sarlacc, and Chalum Spaceport Cantina, also known as the Mos Eisley Cantina, a drinking and dining establishment located in Mos Eisley. Tatooine was home to a variety of different flora and fauna. Flora included the black melon, the lambda, and the pally, to name a few. Fauna included the carnivorous crate dragons, which were the largest on the planet, the common bantha, the Opie species, the sarlacc, along with dewbacks, rontos, womp rats, massives, and scurriers, to name a few. Tatooine was the home world to the Jawa and Tuscan Raider species. Jawas were a sentient species of meter-tall humanoids. They were passionate scavengers, combing the deserts of Tatooine for droids or scraps, which they would capture and sell to local residents, forming a codependent circle of trade. Tuscan Raiders, also known as Sand People, were a culture of nomadic, primitive sentience. They were known to be extremely xenophobic and territorial of their native resources, often attacking the outskirts of smaller settlements. The most notable characters to hail from Tatooine were Anakin Skywalker and Luke Skywalker, both who would go on to shape galactic history. Other characters who called Tatooine their home world included Cobb Vanth, Shmi Skywalker, Owen Lars, Beru Lars, Klieg Lars, and Biggs Darklighter, to name a few. There were many other characters throughout the saga who spent time on Tatooine as well. Obi-Wan overhears a meeting and learns many things. He transmits his findings by way of Anakin and Padmé's ship, though he is surrounded by droidekas and captured before he can finish his report. Anakin and Padmé then head to Geonosis to rescue Obi-Wan. A large battle erupts on the planet, signifying the beginning of the Clone Wars. Afterwards, Obi-Wan and Yoda return to Coruscant. The film closes on Naboo with the secret wedding of Anakin and Padmé. And there you have it. Thanks for watching, everyone. What did you think of this video? Would you like to see more videos like this? Let us know down below in the comment section. And remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more great videos to come. We hope to see you all again in Leia's Lair.
You are not a Jedi yet.